Whether it's boiling up a can of beans for breakfast or sizzling a steak for supper, a butane camp stove is one of the best and easiest ways to cook while camping. Now, unlike some other liquid fuel stoves that are out there like this one, you don't have to mess around with complicated fuel lines or fuel pressure. All you got to do is take one of these canisters, pop it in, turn a knob, and you're good to go. It's super simple to use and practically dummy proof. Personally, I've been camping for over 25 years, and my preferred method for cooking while both car camping and some backcountry camping trips is using a butane camp stove. What's up, meandering spirits? It's Shane here, and in today's video, let's dive into butane camp stoves and why it's a fantastic choice for your next camping trip. When it comes to cooking outdoors, especially for camping, there's a lot of choices out there. But one of the best ways to cook while camping is one of these. It's a butane camp stove. As implied by the name, a butane camp stove uses butane, which is a liquefied gas to fuel the burner. Butane is a fairly common fuel, and it's used for a variety of applications. Butane can burn at over 1900 degrees Celsius. While under pressure, butane is a liquid. Only when the pressure is released does it turn into a gas. If you're looking for more information on liquid fuel camp stoves, I'll leave a link in the description below. Now, there are a number of advantages and disadvantages of using a butane camp stove, so let's dive into them. So there are two key advantages of using a butane camp stove. The first are the butane canisters themselves. These butane canisters are super convenient. They're lightweight up to a certain point, low cost, again, up to a certain point, and relatively low maintenance. Unlike a liquid-fueled camp stove, you don't have to worry about refilling and potentially spilling the fuel all over. You just pop in one of these canisters into the unit and you're set. These butane gas canisters are fairly standard. Each contain about 227 grams or 8 ounces of fuel. Personally, I've been able to cook a steak, stir-fry vegetables, as well as boil up some water easily with one can. Most butane camp stove manufacturers typically rate that one canister of butane fuel can cook for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how high of a heat you set the setting at. For me, that means each canister lasts about 2 days at moderate cooking use. Now, the second key advantage of using a butane camp stove is how safe and reliable they are. You can literally hand this over to a child with minimal supervision and not have to worry about whether or not they're going to end up hurting themselves. I even trust my wife to use one. I love her, but she tends to get herself into trouble, but she can operate these no problem. Now, there are also a few disadvantages of using a butane camp stove. The first and kind of major issue is their use in cold weather climates. Each butane canister contains a mixture of liquid and gas in equilibrium. As the gas is used, the liquid evaporates, creating more gas. Now, as we all learned in elementary school, a liquid can only evaporate if the temperature is high enough. For butane, once the temperature dips below 0 degrees, it stops working. The liquid can't evaporate and create gas, which creates the pressure, which fuels the stove. The other added complication is that as you use the gas in the canister, the temperature of the canister itself drops. If you ever used an air canister to clean electronics, you'll notice that if you constantly have the valve open and if you're spraying air, the canister itself cools down. And if you shake it, you can kind of hear what seems to be like ice forming inside the canister, which is the exact same thing that happens with butane canisters as well. So as the internal temperature of the gas canister falls, the gas flow that goes to the actual burner itself decreases drastically. That means you'll have to wait until the canister warms up until you're able to use it as normal again. If you're planning a trip in colder climates, it's a better idea to stick with liquid fuel camp stoves instead of gas canisters like butane. The second major drawback of using a butane camp stove is the weight of carrying all of the canisters. Although individual gas canisters are fairly lightweight, depending on the amount of cooking that you're anticipating to do while camping, the amount of butane canisters you actually have to bring and the combined weight of all the canisters can be fairly heavy. Now, because they can't be compressed or anything like that, they do add space to your pack as well as a little bit of extra weight to that pack while you're leaving your campsite as well. Number 3 as a disadvantage is the total cost of cooking using the butane fuel itself. Gas stoves are typically cheaper than liquid stoves. However, these gas canisters can quickly add up costs compared to liquid fuels on a per hour cooking basis. Now, you can look this up online at msr.com, but they calculate that cooking with butane costs around $6 per hour, whereas cooking with white gas, which is a liquid fuel, costs around $1.50. So overall, quite a bit more expensive on a per cooking hour basis compared to liquid fuels. And then the last disadvantage of butane camp stoves are the availability of these canisters around the world. Now, in North America, you can go into any hardware store, any outdoor store, they'll have these, no problem. Even at grocery stores, they should have these. But once you start getting outside of North America, these are a little bit harder to find. For international trips, I highly recommend using a liquid fuel stove because you can't carry gas canisters or liquid fuel on a plane. Once you arrive at your destination, it'll be far easier to look for and buy liquid fuels versus these canisters. All right, so let's get into how to properly use a butane camp stove. Like I mentioned, very, very easy to use, and I'll show you how it's done. All right, now before you start, you want to make sure that the dial for the gas fuel is in the off position before you install the canister at all. Step number one is you want to install the butane canister into the stove. All you got to do is take off the protective cap, which protects the nozzle. Open the door to the canister housing in the camp stove base. Then you want to lift the canister alignment tab and align it with the notch that's built into the canister top. When that's all done, close the door. Step number two is to install the cooking grate. Most camp stoves are designed to be as compact as possible. So the steel grate, which comes included in the stove, all you got to do is flip that grate over and put it into the position for cooking. Now, step number three is you want to ignite the burner. To do that, you want to push the canister locking lever down. What that lever does is it locks the canister into position. It also locks the nozzle of the canister into the regulator, which regulates the flow of gas into the burner itself. Most butane camp stoves like this one come with a built-in igniter, so you don't have to worry about matches or anything like that. All you got to do is turn the fuel knob all the way to the burner symbol, and you'll hear a click. And then that should automatically ignite the gas. Step number four is you want to adjust the gas flow. So you can turn this dial to adjust the flow of the gas. On a windy day like today, you're probably going to have the gas at maximum flow, just so that you can compensate for all the wind. If you really need to, you can create a makeshift windscreen by piling wood or something like that next to your camp stove. Not too close so that it can burn or anything like that, but close enough that it blocks the majority of the wind. I highly recommend getting a metal windscreen, which kind of folds down compact, and it can open up and protect your stove from excessive winds. I'll leave a link to one in the description below that I use. The final step is to return the stove to a safe state. All you gotta do is turn the knob to the off position. You wanna lift the lever lock to disengage the gas canister. And then depending on where you are, you might wanna place the stove in a shaded area so that it can cool off a little bit quicker. You don't wanna keep the camp stove or the gas canisters themselves in direct sunlight. You don't want them to get excessively hot throughout the day. Once it's cooled, you can flip over the grate and then place it in its carrying case for storage. Now, for most car camping and some backcountry camping trips, a butane camp stove is your best option. I'd highly recommend the following two butane camp stoves. The first one is a Coleman butane camp stove. You can find these at a majority of outdoor stores as well as online. I'll leave a link to the one on Amazon in the description below. Just like the one that I have in front of me, the Coleman is safe, reliable, easy to use. It comes with the exact same knobs, exact same setup. It's pretty much a standard design across most, if not all, butane camp stoves. And for its low price, you can't go wrong. The other one that I highly recommend is the Gas One dual fuel camp stove. Now, the reason why I like the Gas One is because not only can you use butane canisters like these, it also comes with a fuel hose adapter. So that means you can use propane as well. If you're looking for more flexibility, I'd say go with the Gas One. If you're looking for just a regular old butane camp stove, go with the Coleman one. You'll be glad you did. Now, as a bonus, some of these portable butane camp stoves actually come with a really handy carrying case. And it's perfect because then it keeps everything nice, safe, and secure. You can pop it into here and you don't have to worry about damaging your equipment or damaging other equipment with your stove itself. And there you have it. Everything you need to know about using a butane camp stove. If you found this information useful, please leave a like. I'd really appreciate it. And feel free to subscribe if you want more information about the outdoors and camping. I love sharing my little tips and tricks with you. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care.